It's a little bit more green in person. Really pretty though. This is a gorgeous combination. This is the Rin60. It is a board from Kibu, which I like Kibu quality. Kibu's always been great. It's a 60% board. It's made of aluminum. It's a leaf spring top mount or just a standard top mount depending on the plates. You'll have 3 different plates to choose from, and it is based off of Shima Rin, which is based off of, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Yuru Camp. But yeah, it's based off of that, which apparently is pretty popular. I did some research beforehand. That's what it's based off of. The price point is $220. It comes in a few different colors with a lot of different options. So real nice. I think the most attractive thing about this is we're finally seeing, which is kind of a relief to me, we're finally seeing a Kibu board under $250, which I vibe with. It does come in either solder or hot swap. The compatibility on those are pretty good as well. Even the hot swap has, I'd say, a decent amount of stuff. It is gonna be a fixed bottom row because the bottom row has to compensate for HHKB because there is HHKB units of this available, but price point's pretty nice. So it comes in this hard shell case. We have our PCB. So the date should be Wednesday, June 4th at 10 p.m. Eastern. Just so you guys know, this is not my board to keep. As per usual, I just like looking at Kibu's stuff. That is nice. Nice color. Kind of has that aqua kind of color going to it, but I think this is classified as Prussian blue. It comes in, I would have loved to see orange. It comes in Prussian blue, orange, wine red, raw, which the raw one is kind of my favorite. And then it either comes in a Winkey or HHKB format. And then the weight can also be raw. So you can pick an unfinished weight or the sandblasted weight. The price point is still what captivates me here, $220. So what do we get for $220 here aesthetically? We have a box on wedge. I would say this is, oh man, look at that front height already. Jeez, that looks low. Box on wedge with a nice seam, and then it also has kind of like a little kick over here, which I think adds some character to the box and wedge. Nothing new, like I've definitely seen this kind of design before, but I do appreciate a nice seam on a board. When they can really put the seam and really add it to the board here, it looks good. Recessed USB-C cable, very flat back over here, so we're cutting some costs, obviously. The weight with a bit of a bevel around it. Plate has a nice finish too, and you can see, I guess the weight is different from this cover on the inside, which, you know what? For what it's worth, that is pretty nice. Actually, yeah, it has an outer weight and an inner weight. I didn't even realize it had that. That is actually pretty sick for the price point. Also, I don't even have to measure the front height because they have it listed. It's 16.5? That is nice. 16.5 front height with an effective front height of, well, to key height is 22.2 mil, so great. And then it's a roughly 1.4 kilos built with a 7.8 degree typing angle. And then we have leaf spring top as our main mounting system and only mounting system with the aluminum plate. If we had the other plates, you'd be able to do just regular top mount. Double weight for 220, super low front height. This is hitting right. It is. All right, PCB looking nice. We have some silk screen on it on the front. So this is the solder PCB. Lots of options here. Again, we have the fixed bottom row because it has to be a fixed bottom row for this. No complaints. I think this is a good PCB. Fun PCB. And then here is the engraving again on the back if you guys want to see it. I have no affinity to this character. So this is not something I am very well versed in. Demo PCB, the PCB looks like the Notion page one. Oh, there was a Notion page PCB? Let's see. Oh, well, that is a little off. But yeah, that's the PCB. I don't know why it's not. That's actually kind of cuter. Another tip that I try to always bestow onto people, because I learned this the hard way over many trial and errors of keyboards, and you know, you read about it, but you never really put it into practice, is when you're soldering, like you guys see me sometimes fiddling with things, you want to make sure, like, see how all the switches are flush to the PCB or as close as they possibly can. You want to make sure that's happening. If that doesn't happen, you're leaving a gap for stuff to kind of almost do things randomly underneath, like sound will kind of change. Sometimes it even creates kind of a hollow, like empty sound signature if there's too much of a gap. But that also matters on how well your switches will sound. So I always recommend just making sure your stuff's flush to the PCB. A lot of people skip that. When I repair things, sometimes I see like big gaps between things, and it does matter. I don't know if Fuyu is still in chat. The cable literally doesn't go all the way. I might have to leave this unplugged. This is not the right PCB, so maybe the correct PCB has, you know, a little bit more, a little bit shimmied over to the right, but yeah, this is too short. It's either the cable's too short, which it doesn't seem like it is, because this is not going to go further anymore to the left. Yeah, let's leave it unplugged. Oh well. I tried. What do we do for keycaps? Also, I do like the bezel width on this. It's a nice, overall nice shape. Pretty basic, like I said. Going over it one more time. Side profile's nice. You know, you got this little kick in the weight or the bottom design here, which is again nothing new, but it still makes the keyboard look good. I think the low front height is awesome on this. All right, here's the board. It's a little bit more green in person, at least from what I'm kind of seeing on the screen. I think it's just the Fuji camera. In fact, let me try to show you guys on this camera. Bit more green. The Fuji's presenting this as a bit too blue, in my humble opinion. Really pretty, though. This is a gorgeous combination. The board's $220. All right, I guess let's see what this sounds like. We're using Cherry black switches. I don't know if Sakula or Fuyu modded these. They feel like a pretty light spring. I know they're filmed and spring swapped and lubed with some 205. And then we're using the top mount with the aluminum plates, some night stabs. I do want to try a different spacebar. I want to just move the GMK spacebar over. Nice. Very nice. Let's see. Let's move my GMK spacebar over to this guy. Okay, okay. I like it. This is very nice. Bit of a different sound profile going left to right here, though. I wonder if it just needs to be... Let me see something. Let me just see if I need to tighten up the screw on the back here. Let me see. I do think this sounds really freaking nice, though, as is. If I can get the spacebar to pop a little bit more, though, I'll be a happy camper, but we'll see. The right side sounds perfect to me. Yeah, me too. I think the left side needs to be either tightened up or I don't know what's going on. I mean, yeah, it's all, stabs all there. The body of this keyboard is kind of OTD looking, very classic. It does have a very classic look to it. See how it's a bit flatter on this side? Poppy on this side? I just need to figure out what's going on. Cherry does that sometimes, like Cherry switches can do that for sure. So I wonder if the Cherry switch is just sitting on a bit of an angle somehow. So I'm just gonna warm up our things here and just kind of push. Sometimes that's not it either, it's just... I did not mill max this one though. I think that's a little better. Let's see. Oh. Yep, I think we fixed it. By the way, if you guys ever need to know how to fix that too, that's to tell you to do that. I wouldn't say it's... I feel like that's not super common knowledge, but Cherry switches have a tendency to do that. I don't exactly know why. I think it's just because they're pretty weird when it comes to if they just don't get seated 100%. So, I don't know. I feel like that fixed it completely. Little fix can go such a long way, huh? Very, very cool. Awesome board. Dude, I still can't believe the price point of this. $220. $220 is really nice for this. Like, I love classy looking keyboards. Low front height, is always something I'm looking for in a keyboard as well. This has a 2-piece weight, which is pretty crazy too. So you have the external weight and the internal brass weight, which is fire. And what the nice thing about this too, I'll admit, like, if you don't care for the anime, like, it is what it is, but it's such a small part of this board that you'll never see it. If you didn't care for the anime, then you're in luck. You don't have to really give a shit about it, but yeah, in that case, or some cases, maybe it does turn you off from the board too. Maybe the weight isn't something you like, but it's such a small piece to this that I don't really feel compelled to be like, no. Pretty good price point though. Pretty flawless build. Like, other than the little cable mishap there, which is no one's fault really. Well, we can blame Fuyu. Poor Fuyu. Pretty solid. I think this board's pretty solid, man. There's not a lot that I dislike. I don't think there's anything that I dislike about this. This turned out sweet. Again, maybe the only subjective thing, you may be turned off from the little engraving on the back of the keyboard here. Maybe that's something you're like, yeah, I fucking hate this thing. It's cool though. Very, very nice. The unfinished weights as an option, as well as sandblasted, are like literally perfect. I love having those options there too. Love you guys. Thanks for being here as always. So see you guys soon.